Instead of on the campaign trail, what can we expect here from today's event?
Well, to be clear, this is a donor retreat. So people who have in many cases given the maximum amount allowed in donations to Donald Trump and his campaign are rewarded now today and yesterday with access, not just to Donald Trump, but also to his top surrogates. And there's a lot of interest in which surrogates are showing up for this weekend, because when you take a look at the guest list of yesterday and today's events, and then you take a look at the list of the short list, people who are rumored to be considered for Donald Trump's running mate, a lot of names match on both of those lists. So that's why the intrigue around the Veepstakes, if you will, is still here. People like governors like Kristi Noem, someone who's gotten a lot of attention, right? Doug Burgum. And then you've got a number of senators, people like Marco Rubio, like Tim Scott, like J.D. Vance, all of whom have had their own VP speculation. Even people in the House like Elise Stefanik, a very vocal and loyal Trump supporter. People like Byron Donalds as well, a congressman from Florida who we caught up with yesterday. And we asked him about specifically the trial that Donald Trump is facing, whether the fact that he's in the courtroom all the time, not able to be traditionally on the campaign trail, means that whoever his VP is going to have to sort of make up that ground. And this is a response that he gave us yesterday.
No, I don't really think so. You know, I think the president's voice is unique to him. It's an outsized voice where people will come find it, no matter where he is. And so I don't think that's like the most critical thing, honestly. I just think that it's somebody who's going to be supportive of the president, of the agenda, have his back, help us win.
So in addition to all of those lawmakers, governors, senators, et cetera, that we've just described, you got a total group of anywhere from 300 to 400 people. Many of these people are donors, as we mentioned. They're also members of the RNC. They took a bus or multiple buses from their hotel to Mar-a-Lago behind us. Most of this retreat happened at their hotel, but they took the trip collectively to see the former president, not the other way around. We thought that was significant. We're told they are actually listening to him now. He is addressing that crowd, and it was supposed to go anywhere from noon to about 3 o'clock. So it'll be interesting to maybe chat with some of those folks once they get out of Mar-a-Lago, and we're hoping to do that later on this afternoon, Anna.
I guess that chain of buses could literally be called the Trump train, couldn't it? All right, well, I want to get your take on this, too, because one of the headlines this week that we've been watching, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem facing criticism for some of her comments in her memoir. Are you hearing anything about that today?
Yeah, I mean, that was a massive headline, right, in her book, this anecdote about how she shot her 14-month-old puppy, essentially. So that's been making the rounds. We talked to a number of people here. I've heard that it hasn't come up. She obviously was doing a panel discussion, that it wasn't brought up directly or part of the discussion, formally. But we do know that there are conversations and concerns about whether that's going to be a liability for former President Trump if he does, in fact, decide to choose her, or maybe that weighs in his decision as to whether or not she is going to ultimately get the nod. She was at the very top of the list. A lot of the speculation was around her because she checked a lot of boxes for former President Trump. Whether that changes now, we will see. He has been quiet about it. He hasn't really answered that or been vocal or taken to social media talking about her specifically or this controversy. So it'll be interesting as this campaign moves along when he does get that question, how he answers it.
It's a hard headline to unhear. It's hard to even say. Joe Coolio, live in Mar-a-Lago. Thank you for your time. Great work. 17 minutes after the hour, we're going to be securing the border, talking about it from high above. News Nation gets exclusive access to a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter mission. Plus, job market cool off, what the newest report means for the economy and your finances. And the most watched horse race in the country turns 150 years old today. How folks at the Kentucky